Hello and welcome to the video. The other day, pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 went out. And it was quite funny looking all over social media and seeing people trying to get their pre-orders. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I'm happy for you if you got one. Like, absolutely enjoy your purchase. I'm looking forward to people getting their Switch 2s so they can finally play the games that they really want to play. But, as you might have seen from the title of this video, I have decided that I am not going to be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 on day one. I have reasons for this. I've got a few different notes in front of me that to talk about and just explain why I'm not getting a Nintendo Switch 2 straight away on launch day. This isn't because I didn't get any pre-orders in. I didn't actually even try to pre-order the console. I do want to get a Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously, you know, I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm a Switch fan. So I'm obviously going to get a Nintendo Switch 2 at some point. So please don't watch this video and think that I'm hating on the console. I'm absolutely not. Like, you know, I actually think the Switch 2 looks pretty decent and I'm liking what I'm seeing with the console. I've made videos in the past of my thoughts on the Switch 2. So, yeah, this isn't like a hate video at all. This is literally just me explaining why I'm not getting one day one. So I've got some reasons for that and I'm going to talk about them now. So, yeah, I'm happy for you if you've got your Switch 2, but this is why I'm not getting my Switch 2 on launch day. So here we go. Now, the first reason is simply because the price is too damn high. Now, if you've got that joke, you have been on the internet way too long. It's one of them, really. The console itself is relatively around the same price as, say, a PlayStation 5. I don't have a PlayStation 5, by the way, so if I've not got the PlayStation 5 because it's too expensive, I'm probably not going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 straight away. I'm going to wait for, hopefully, the console to go down a little bit in price. I never brought a Switch 1 in, like, on launch day because at the time I was at university and I just didn't have the money at the time to be able to purchase the console. And again, this console, Switch 2, is simply too expensive for me. It's very, very expensive. The games are really expensive from what I'm seeing. For what you're getting as a console, for the price that you're paying, at this point, I don't think it's worth it just yet. And that leads me on to my next point, which is that the console, for me, it's not innovating enough. Like, I think the Switch 2 itself is great. Like, the fact that it's got a better spec screen, obviously the build of the console is way better. 4K, 120 frames per second. You know, all those kinds of things, that's awesome. And it's amazing that Nintendo have finally got a console out there that can rival the power of the PlayStation 5 and maybe the Xbox Series X. That, for me, isn't what I game for. I don't game for graphics. I'm not one of these people that has to play a game because it's, like, the best looking game visually. Like, that isn't me. When I play a game because I want to play fun, right? I want to play a game for its gameplay. How fun is the game? It's nice to have decent graphics, obviously. The way I see it is if a game's not fun, it's not worth it. To me, so far, the most innovative thing that the Nintendo Switch 2 is doing right now is the mouse controls, like the mouse Joy-Cons. I'm wondering how many games are actually going to use the mouse pointing controls. I can't see every game doing that. Like, obviously, Metro Prime 4 is going to. I can imagine there might be a few more first-person shooting games out there that will do exactly the same. I don't think that's enough. For example, the camera as well that is being added to Switch 2, the webcam. It's a webcam. It looks a bit okay. Like, it's not the best webcam ever. And I don't know. Like, voice chat is a thing that it should have been there a long time ago with Switch. You know what I mean? It should have been on Switch 1 voice chat properly. And I can do that on my phone anyway, and probably do it better. So it's one of those things that the Switch 2 itself, until the games have come out and the console's been out for a lot longer, I feel right now, on day one, the console is not innovative enough. And for example as well, the main game that's going to show off Nintendo's innovation with this console is a tour game, which you have to pay for. To me, that is just, no, like, it's not good enough, really. And also that Drag and Drive game as well, which it's probably a couple of hours of fun, that game. Like, kind of like ARMS. I played it for a few hours and then put it down and then didn't play it for a while and then played it again years later. So that's not enough to me, really. Like, I don't know. The console itself looks fine. It just looks like a bigger and better Switch, obviously. At this point in time, from what I've seen, it's not enough for me to go, that's a must buy. I have to buy it. So I'm going to wait for a bit. So my next option is, there's simply not enough yet on the Switch 2 for me to go, I'm going to buy this at launch. At this moment, the reveal are Metroid Prime 4, which is also a Switch game. Donkey Kong Bonanza, which, yeah, actually looks really good. Mario Kart World, and that's pretty much it. Or maybe the Dusk Bloods. That's probably it at the moment. Like, they're the only real games that I'm like going, yeah, they're the games I'm going to buy day one. Which I won't be buying them day one. I won't have a Switch 2. Because I think these games look phenomenal, don't get me wrong. Like, these games look great. Like, absolutely. Dusk Bloods looks amazing. It's amazing to see a From Software game on Nintendo Switch 2. And then also, Donkey Kong Bonanza looks amazing. It's blatantly the Mario 3D game, despite it being a Donkey Kong game that Nintendo have been working on. As it kind of looks very similar to, say, Mario Odyssey. It's not Mario Odyssey, but it's very similar in the fact that it's that kind of 3D open game for Donkey Kong. So it kind of is the Mario 3D World game, I suppose. It's in that universe. But it's not a Mario 3D World game. Yeah, we will get that eventually, I'm assuming. Mario Kart World looks really good. Like, I love Mario Kart, but at this point, is it a must-play for me? Not right now. Like, it's not a game that I'm desperate to play, but I will buy it when I get a Switch, because obviously everybody needs Mario Kart on their system. But at this point, for me, the game isn't the system-selling game that I want on Nintendo Switch 2. The 3D Mario game would have been, or also a Zelda game probably would have been, which obviously we weren't going to get that. That's what I'm trying to say, is the games at the moment that are out there, none of them are pulling me in as day one games. Metroid Prime 4 is a game I will buy day one, but the problem with that is that it's already on Nintendo Switch, and I can just play it on my Switch for now. It's the lesser version of the game, obviously, because you don't get the pointer controls like you will on the Nintendo Switch 2. But it's the Switch 2 version is basically just a remastered version of the base version, which is on Nintendo Switch. So, yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, really, because while I do want to play those games, I also think I don't need to play them just yet. Now, the next thing I will say about Nintendo Switch 2 is, if you're not sure yet, I will say wait. And the reason for this is because there will be a revision of the Nintendo Switch 2. Always will be. There will always be a revision console. And what I mean by that is the console, for example, Nintendo Switch, eventually got the Nintendo Switch OLED version. Now, the Nintendo Switch OLED was the better, bigger version of the first original Nintendo Switch. It had a better screen. It had an OLED screen. It was a little bit faster as well. Like, it was a bit snappier, the console was. It was basically a Nintendo Switch Pro, right? That's kind of one way to say it. It was the Nintendo Switch Pro. It was the better version of the base original console. And I actually think that Nintendo Switch 2, it's going to happen. They will probably add a new screen to Nintendo Switch 2, like an OLED screen or something like that. Or they'll do something to the Switch 2. For example, they'll release a new version of it with different colour Joy-Cons or something. I know that the Nintendo Switch 2 currently only has a battery life of around 2 to 6 hours, which is not great. That's what Nintendo are projecting, that the new console will only have a battery life of 2 to 6 hours. That's not a long time. Unless you're going to play docked, handheld is going to be a pain, because 6 hours, if you like to play for a long time handheld, 6 hours actually isn't that much time. Handheld might be a bit of an issue with the very first generation of this console, like the first version of it. So wait a little bit. And there might be a revision. I know that for Nintendo Switch 1, they actually released a brand new, different version of the first Nintendo Switch original, where it had a better battery life, and they did that within like the first 2 years. And that's the version I actually had. The very first Nintendo Switch I had, which is that one right there, that is the version of the console with the slightly better battery life in it, and it was worth it. So just kind of think about that, really. I mean, it's all well and good having the very first version of the console and getting it day one, but these consoles do come with teething issues, and it's not out of the blue or strange for a console to have problems when they're first launched. I mean, look at the Xbox 360, and if you know about the Red Ring of Death. I'm not saying Nintendo Switch 2 will have this, but there's always that chance that the first version, the first release of the console may be not the best one. So that's one way to think about it. And now the next thing I'm going to talk about is I actually have a backlog still. I've just made a video about this, about the backlog on my channel of my Nintendo Switch games. So do check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, I've still got loads and loads of games here. These are Nintendo Switch games right there. There's still like 10 to 20 games I need to go through. I've got digital games to play through. I've got physical games to play through. I've got games to play for a while. Like I'm not short of video games on Nintendo Switch, and everybody needs to realize that the Nintendo Switch 2 games, they're not going anywhere. They're not just going to disappear. Like, they're not going to be timely releases. So there's no need to rush to get Nintendo Switch 2 because those games will still be there. And I will move on to Nintendo Switch 2 once I've beaten this backlog. Like, once I've beaten all the games that are left in my backlog to play, that's when I will decide to get a Nintendo Switch 2, because there's just so many games on Nintendo Switch at the moment. Yes, I could play them on Nintendo Switch 2, but why? Why do I need to do that? I don't need to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 just to continue playing my Switch games when my Nintendo Switch OLED does that and still does it at a great, it still does it great. So yeah, unless you want a slightly better screen at 1080p handheld, then that might be different. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch games, not all of them are going to be remastered for Nintendo Switch 2. So there's no difference to playing them on the first Switch to what there is on Nintendo Switch 2, unless that Nintendo Switch game has been actually remastered for Nintendo Switch 2. And even then, you still have to pay money to play the remastered version. It's not worth it, really, when you think about it. Maybe one day I'll play them again on Nintendo Switch 2, and if there's enough remastered versions of the games, I might consider buying the remastered version upgrades. I don't need to play Breath of the Wild again at this point. I don't need to play Tears of the Kingdom again. So yeah, I'm going to continue playing my backlog until I'm ready to buy my Switch 2, I think. I've still got lots of games to play, and they're all great games. I know they are, because that's the reason why I have them in my collection. Also, here's another thing to really consider. Like, if you're going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, this is my next point. Think about your life situation, because my life situation at the moment is I'm a dad. That's my main priority at this point in my life. I am a dad. I've got a toddler who is coming up to 2 years old in a few months, like in literally like 4 or 5 months. So the way I see it, at this point in my life, I've got more important things going on than buying video games. Yes, okay, I am a channel that basically buys video games and plays them and talks about them. Yes, that's how I am making my channel, right, obviously. And I probably will have to, at some point, update this channel to the point where I am mostly talking about Switch 2 games, because that's where you guys will be. You will want to hear me talk about Switch 2 games. But there's more important things going on right now. This is secondary for me. This is my hobby. This is something that I do in my spare time when I've got a chance, and I'll do it just because it's fun, right? Things that are going on in my life right now, for example, Monday to Friday, I've got a full-time job. That's obviously how I'm making income, how I'm able to live, how I'm able to afford all these things. That's priority over all this, over gaming. Being a dad is obviously priority over gaming. Absolutely, if anyone argues with that, then I don't know what to say to you. Things that are going on, I've got this house to look after and maintain. Been outside in the garden, which we've just been over the last year renovating and turning into a brand new garden because it was old and rotten and stuff like that. So things going on in my life right now that are just more important than playing video games, simply. I'm 30, going on to 31 this year. I'm at a really important point in my life because I'm kind of in between that era of my life where you're leaving your kind of life where it's all about having fun and playing video games or going out into town and going to parties and nightclubs. I'm past that point in my life now. I'm going into adulthood, and adulthood is real scary. Like, there's a lot to do, and you have to really think about setting up your life in your 30s. So that is my life at the moment. I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. And right now, Switch 2, yes, okay, it's something I do want to get because obviously I want to play Switch 2 in my spare time. Right now, it's not a priority for me. Like, it's not something that, unless I was making a lot of money on my channel and I was making time for it, You know, this was my kind of like career, full-time career kind of thing. Switch 2 isn't priority for me. This is what it is now. I wouldn't change any of it at the moment, though. I wouldn't change anything. Like, I love being a dad. That's literally my favorite thing ever. I love the fact that I've got a house and, you know, I'm able to live my life. So I wouldn't change any of this. So there we go. And now the final thing I'm going to say about this is another reason why I'm not getting a Nintendo Switch 2 is because I would rather someone who is eager to play the console get the console before I do. Because there's a lot of people out there right now that really are struggling to get the Nintendo Switch 2. It's a difficult console to get because, one, we're going to have the issue of scalpers getting the console. Scalpers, if you're a scalper, by the way, please stop. You are literally ruining it for people who really want to play Switch 2, because scalpers, all they're doing is taking a console, ramping up the price of that console, and then selling it on, because what they'll do is they'll buy more than one console at a time and make it really difficult because they want to make profit off something which is sought after. You know, people want to buy this console, so scalpers will buy the console in bulk and then sell it on for a more expensive price because people are desperate. Nintendo fans want to play this console. Don't do it. Don't be a scalper. Please don't. It doesn't help the industry at all, and it makes gaming a problem for people who really want to play the console. So I would rather someone who hasn't got the console and has the chance to get the console before I do. I would rather it be that way. You know, I'd simply would rather someone who's younger than me and is getting into gaming. You know, someone like me, last 20 years ago. You know, they need it more than I do. Yeah, there we go. That's simply that. Can't really say much more on that. I know it's going to be a difficult console to pick up, especially this Christmas, because a lot of people are going to want to Switch 2 this Christmas. So if the console does as well as the first Switch, which it might not, depending on Nintendo's current like business practices, they haven't been considered the best, I don't think, recently. Who knows? We'll see what happens with the console. It could be the best-selling console ever. It could be the worst Nintendo console ever. Who knows? Let's just hope it's not another Wii U situation. And I'd rather it be another Nintendo Switch situation. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I mean, I will get a Nintendo Switch 2. Like, there's no doubt about it. I'm definitely getting one. I think it looks great, console, and it's a better upgraded Switch. What more can I ask for? The Nintendo Switch is arguably my favourite console of all time. I've really enjoyed playing Nintendo Switch. There's no doubt I will definitely enjoy a Nintendo Switch 2. I've been through every Nintendo console since the Nintendo 64. Like, there's no reason for me to stop now. I just need to wait, I think, and that's all I need. And I'm not desperate to get the console just yet. I'll get it when I'm ready to get it, and when maybe the console has gone down in price. It's just the problem is at the moment, it's the new trendy console that everyone wants to get and be the first person to play and show off that they have it on social media. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of the way I see it. It's not a necessity right now. We live in a cost of living crisis. Reassess your situation, I think, before you really go out there and buy something that you might not enjoy, or you might play a few times and then realise that you still enjoy playing PlayStation 5 more or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of rolling off the tongue here and thinking about things to see. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have enjoyed the video, please do like, comment and subscribe on the video. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to get to the 2,000 subscribers mark for my birthday, which is in July. So please do help with that. I really appreciate it when people subscribe to the channel, because it shows off what people like about this channel and helps me build a community, which I'm trying to do, because I like having a community of like-minded people to talk to. So there we go. If you liked this video, check out this video right here. This is a video of me talking about 10 predictions I think will happen for the Nintendo Switch 2. As in, what games I think will be released for Nintendo Switch 2 that haven't been announced yet. These are my predictions, so make sure you check out that video right there. You'll probably enjoy it if you've liked this video. I'll see you around, guys. Bye!